Hello. It's been a very long time since I last recorded anything. And what spurred me on today is just thinking about continuous learning. And part of the videos that I did the last time I was a bit more active with recording these things, I had been talking about my realization that a person should continually be learning, developing themselves, upskilling themselves. And at that time, I had even felt that recording would at a later time act as a mirror uh, for me, but also in that act, throwing it out into the universe. Uh, my intention of studying further and for me to then in some way hold myself and be held accountable to the question, did I follow through, did I achieve what I set out to do? And at the time I talked of a course, a short course offered by Stellenbosch University, which I did and completed, a course in science communication, how to interact with media, understanding the dynamics around how you communicate, perceptions that already exist, managing all of those, and also looking at the various ways in which you communicate science in particular, whether whether you are dealing with uh, educators or learners or the public. There was debate even around that. What is the public? General public, and you've got a lot of terms that are used. But in reality, whenever you communicate, you have to have a target audience, and you should be responsive in how you target these people and engage with them. And also take into consideration that you're not just talking with empty vessels, you're talking with people with varied lived experiences and background knowledge, and try to manage all of that so that you move from a place that they understand, move from a place that recognizes that they know certain things but know them a certain way. And and yeah, so I did that course, completed it, and did quite well actually. Then I had also talked of a course offered by UNISA School of Business Leadership, and that particular course was in the executive education stream. It one of these postgraduate qualifications. In particular, it was practical project management. We talked of project management principles, talked of costing, talked of planning, talked about the supply chain management and the legal aspects thereof. Excuse me. There were financial uh, aspects in that regard, knowing how to project, basically unpacking what project management is and the crucial considerations that one needs to take. And I was able to do that successfully as well. Uh, Passed the modules quite well. In fact, one of them I even got a distinction. And so I'm really proud. I'm really proud that at least I set out to do this thing and I did it and I gave my best, and positive results came from it. But today, the reason I'm talking about education and continuous learning is just a few days ago, I was doing homework with my daughter who's in the first grade, and I started thinking, as a parent, your daughter, your child, your son uh, gets homework, and you assist them in what they've been given at school. But as a parent, maybe you happen to be educated yourself, and so there are certain things that you know, but then uncertain of when helping my child, how much do I teach them beyond what is just in the book? How do I even come to making things understandable to them as a young person? um, where do you draw the line in terms of, no, this is above them, or I might be confusing them, or at worst I might be hindering whatever process that is going on at school in terms of them being taught these things in a progressive and a way that has a sequence of sorts. I've not got the answer, but what I do know is that having noted how they are taught certain things, I've tried to at least make it a bit easier for her, and perhaps teach her a few tricks that I may have come across, and I feel surely it's challenging her brain in some way, and hopefully it's something that they would have arrived at, and so it's basically putting her on better footing. So first grade, you would imagine, very basic things. So she started counting, and you'd get homework, and it would talk of they must count from whatever number using either your clothes pegs or pencils or marbles, whatever the case might be. And so it started as in just counting 1 to 20, 1 to 25, simple addition, simple subtraction, multiplication. Um, but what I then realized is it got to a point where I wasn't sure whether um, what I'm teaching her in terms of our conversations, are we talking about stuff that she's taught at school or stuff that I've taught her? And I started thinking about it, being a bit worried. Then it got to a point where I thought, you know what, let me just empower my child, full stop. Whatever else comes from that, that's that. So I started teaching at the times tables. Bought a very big chart that's on the wall, and the times tables. I can't even remember what grade I first started interacting with those. And I remember in particular, there were certain ones that you sort of just knew, you understood the arithmetic behind it, I would say, but also they got to a point where they were just in your mind. Whether we're talking two times tables, whether we're talking 5 times, whether we're talking 10 times, and even 9 times tables were some of the easier ones in my mind, at least that they were difficult at first, then you got the hang of them, and then you could sort of recite them and come up with them, and things just sort of made sense. And so I started with that with her. Of course, we started with the pegs, and if it was 5 pegs, it would be a case of we've counted 5. She's gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put them one side. Take another group, count them to 5. Put them separate from those ones, and then another group, count 5 from 1 to 5, and so that would be 3 groups of 5, and that would be 5 times 3. And of course, she starts from 1, counts all of them, she gets to 15. It's a simple way for her to learn, but it takes a bit of time. And I realized because we're using closed pegs, every time she needed to count, she relied on pegs. She would want to rush to the kitchen, under the sink, get those pegs out, and she'd use them. Then it got to a point where she started using pencils from her space case that I'd bought her. Then one day I thought, no, why not teach her with what she already has as part of her body? And so we started with fingers. And so it was a case of, okay, how many fingers do you have? Then she'd begin, 1, 2, up to 20. And then ask her, on one hand, how many fingers do you have? And then I tried to teach her that there are certain things that you will know because you've encountered them before. And so you can work from those without necessarily going to those basics. For example, if she knows she's got 10 fingers, there's surely no need for her every time when a person asks how many fingers does she have for her to count them, right? And if she knows she's got 10 fingers and she's got 2 hands, one hand has 5 fingers in her case. And so if a person talks of how many fingers do you have on the one hand, she should be able to simply say 5 and not need to count them. And then it grew from there, where I then told her, okay, now you know you've got 10 fingers on both hands. Count to 20 for me. She began counting from 1 to 3, 4, 5, etc. And I told her, no, you can simply look at your hands and know that it's 10. Right? 10 fingers. If I talk of 20, how many tens do you need to get to 20? And at least she was able to say 20 is equal to 2 times 10. And then I started telling her, Now you can count to any other number as long as it's 10 multiplied by whatever. And I started to demonstrate 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Then we played around. If you talk of 40, how many tens do you have? Then she went 10, 20, 30, 40. At least she did that 4 times. And the action of opening up the hand and closing it allows her to say, that's 1 10, this is the second 10, that's the third 10, this is the fourth 10. She got that on lock. I was very glad. You could see the excitement in her as well. And so, with a number of things that she needed to count, she could now stop going to the pencils. She could now stop going to the clothes pegs because her fingers were there. She always knew they were 10. And so, she starts from there as a baseline. Then I started asking her things like, now, if you've got 25 plus 7, what's the answer? She wanted to revert back to the pegs and the pencils. And I reminded her, but you know you've got fingers, right? And you've got 10 fingers on both hands, right? And we know this is 10 and this is 20. Now I'm simply talking about 7, right? Now I said 20 plus 7. Very important and very easy for you to do. Commit that 20 to the mind. Now you know you've got 20 in your head and you only need to add 7. So let's begin. 20 is in your mind, and so we begin. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Now all you've counted is the 7, right? Instead of wasting time counting from 1 up until 20 and then continuing from there. So it's the 20 plus the 7, they get to 27. And then took it a bit further. We're just trying to use big numbers. Normally kids are intimidated by big numbers, pardon me. And so things like, now we've got 97. 97 plus 3. What does it give us? I took a bit of time for her, and then I said, does not matter what the number is. Does not matter. As long as you can say it, remember it, put it in your mind. So you have 97 in your head. Now let's continue. 98, 99, 100. Simple, right? You've only counted 3 on top of what you have in the mind. And then I played around with it where I even worked from 96 plus 6, which then took us to 102, just to get it a bit awkward, but at least to have her understand this basic thing of put the big number aside, commit it to memory, and then just work with these little numbers. So it doesn't matter even if I say 974 plus 10, for example. If she's able to imagine the 974, recite it, commit it to the head, then she's able to then simply add the 10, right? 974, all right. Now add 10. 975, 976, 977, 978, 979, 980, 981, 982, 983, 984. Simple. She's got the right answer. She did not need to use pencils and pegs to get up to the 974 before beginning to add to that. And I thought this was very useful. Then a few, I'd even say 20 minutes later or so, she then randomly tells me, Daddy, I've figured out that you can use this thing even when you, how did she term it? Even if you take away, which is subtraction basically. And so it was a case of, okay, 20 take away 5. She struggled a bit there because now she'd need to count down backwards. And I was there to assist her to say, same thing applies. Keep the 20 in your mind, take away 5. And so 20 is in your mind, and then 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. That is your answer. 20 take away 5 is 15, which is 20 minus 5. And so these basic simple things really excite me. And I felt, it's worth sharing. Who knows, another person might find it useful. It might spark another thought, another way of doing. Because I'm a firm believer that ideas come from ideas, and there's no stupid idea or stupid question. What a person might term a stupid idea might be something that just needs distilling by a person coming from a different perspective or looking at things differently. but that may be a catalyst, something that sparks something else. And so, yeah, just felt I should record this and just share. Thank you very much.